If he's pulling away, don't chase him. Don't text him. Don't try to fix it. Just disappear. Not out of spite, but out of self-worth. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like the more you give, the less he values you? You're showing up, you're supportive, you're loyal, but somehow he's still unsure, still not ready, still taking you for granted. Here's the truth. Most dating advice won't tell you. Men don't commit because they feel safe. They commit because they feel they might lose you. And that's exactly why disappearing strategically and intentionally is a complete game changer. Not ghosting, not playing games, but stepping back in a way that makes a man feel your absence, not just notice it. Because when your presence is too constant, it becomes background noise. But when you pull away with confidence, you become unforgettable. This isn't about punishment. It's about resetting the energy. So the relationship isn't you chasing clarity, but him chasing connection. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to disappear in a way that doesn't create distance, but desire. You'll learn how this proven psychological trigger flips the dynamic and makes a man see you as the one he can't afford to lose. So if you're tired of mixed signals and you're ready to stop over giving and start receiving, stay right here. Because once you understand this method, you'll never chase a man again. Let's dive in. When you begin to pull away, truly and unapologetically, something powerful happens in a man's mind, especially if he has even a small emotional investment in you. At first, he might not notice. He may even assume you're just having a mood or giving him space. But as the silence stretches and the access he once had to you begins to vanish, his brain goes into what psychologists refer to as a reward withdrawal state. Men are wired to respond to contrast. When something is always available, it loses emotional weight. But the second it becomes scarce, the brain tags it as valuable again. This is the same principle behind why people value things more after they're gone, or why we often don't realize what we had until it's no longer within reach. Your absence creates a cognitive gap. He starts to wonder what happened. Why isn't she reaching out? Did I lose her? Is she moving on? That wondering becomes a loop, and that loop creates emotional tension. His mind starts scanning for answers, revisiting your last conversations, analyzing your tone, replaying your last message. And in that space where there used to be your presence, your reassurance, your energy, he's now left with questions and a growing sense of urgency. This is where the chase begins again, not because you manipulated him, but because you allowed his feelings to catch up. The more emotionally available you were, the more he subconsciously relied on your energy without having to earn it. Now that you've stepped back, he has to work for it. And that work activates his emotional investment. Men often need emotional space to realize emotional depth. When you disappear correctly, not out of anger, not with drama, but from a place of calm self-respect, you're not punishing him. You're inviting him to show up. You're shifting out of pursuit and giving him the opportunity to fill the gap. And the truth is, if he cares, he will feel it. He may not show it right away. He may test your silence, but internally, that distance is speaking louder than any words ever could. This is how desire is reignited, not by doing more, but by doing less strategically. The magnetic gap is not just a trick. It's a psychological principle that shifts the emotional dynamic between you and a man who's taking you for granted. It's the space you intentionally create when you stop showing up as constantly available, overly responsive, or emotionally overinvested. This gap, when done correctly, becomes magnetic. It pulls him toward you without you lifting a finger. Here's what most women don't realize. Emotional closeness and emotional chase are not the same thing. Closeness is built through intimacy. Yes, but the chase is triggered by uncertainty. The magnetic gap works because it reintroduces mystery into a situation that may have become too familiar, too predictable. You go from being the woman he assumes will always be there to the woman he's not sure he can reach anymore. That uncertainty activates his emotional curiosity. And once a man is curious, he becomes invested. He starts asking himself, did I lose her? Is she pulling away? Is she losing interest? He begins to wonder what's going on in your world now that he's no longer the center of it. And here's where the gap becomes powerful. It shifts his focus from himself to you. Before you created this space, He may have been comfortable, even complacent. He knew you were there. He didn't have to try. He knew if he pulled back, you'd lean in. But when you create the magnetic gap, you break that pattern. And the shift isn't subtle. It's felt, emotionally, psychologically, energetically. Suddenly you're not texting him first. You're not reacting to his breadcrumbs. You're not making it easy anymore. You've withdrawn your energy with grace, not games. And the silence starts to echo in his mind. He may check your stories, send a hey text, or test the waters, but none of that happens if you don't create the space first. Now here's what's key. The magnetic gap isn't about manipulation. It's about value. You're showing him what your presence really meant by letting him feel what it's like to live without it. Most people don't realize they're taking something for granted until it's gone. And if you've been consistent, loyal, and giving, your absence will hit harder than you think. The silence becomes louder than words. The gap becomes your power. You're no longer seeking validation. You're letting him seek you. And in that space, he either rises to meet your energy, or he fades away. Either way, you win. Because the magnetic gap protects your energy, while revealing his true intentions. And the best part, you don't have to chase, beg, or convince anyone of your worth. Your absence says it for you. That's the power of the magnetic gap. It makes you unforgettable by making you unavailable. Let him feel the silence. Let him question the distance. Let the gap work its magic. If you've ever felt like things were going great and then out of nowhere, he started pulling away, you're not crazy. But there's a good chance one of the biggest mistakes that kill the chase happened without you even realizing it. And once that chase dies, it's very hard to revive, unless you understand exactly what not to do. The first and most common mistake, over-communicating. When he pulls back, most women panic. They try to close the gap with more messages, more calls, more effort, but here's the truth. When a man starts pulling away, chasing him doesn't pull him back. It pushes him further. He doesn't feel flattered, he feels smothered. And instead of wondering about you, he feels relief that you're still clinging. The mystery is gone. The second mistake is emotional overexposure. Telling a man everything you're feeling, especially when you're confused, hurt, or anxious, can be incredibly vulnerable. But doing it too soon, or too often, without the emotional safety in place, makes him feel responsible for your emotions. And most men don't commit out of obligation, they pull away. Sharing your feelings is powerful, yes, but if it's coming from fear of losing him, rather than grounded self-worth, it reads as pressure, not connection. Another mistake, being too available. If he knows he can call you last minute, and you'll drop everything, it kills the chase. When a man doesn't have to work for your time, he doesn't value it. Your availability should reflect your standards, not your desire to keep him. Being always on call emotionally or physically gives the illusion that you have nothing else going on, and that's not attractive, it's unbalanced. Let's talk about validation seeking. Trying to constantly confirm that he still likes you, asking where you stand, or needing reassurance every few days sends a silent message. You don't trust your value unless he tells you. That kind of insecurity breaks the energy of attraction. Men are drawn to confidence, not arrogance, but a calm certainty that says, I know I'm worth showing up for. The moment you start needing him to prove something constantly, the dynamic shifts and not in your favor. One more, losing yourself in the relationship. This happens when you make him the center of your world. You cancel plans, you stop your routines, you forget your goals, all in the name of connection. But real attraction comes from independence. A man chases what he can't fully own, what still has its own life. When you drop your identity for the relationship, it doesn't make him commit, it makes him detach. If any of these sound familiar, don't beat yourself up. Most of us weren't taught how to hold space in dating without overgiving. But awareness is power. And the moment you stop these chase-killing habits is the moment you start creating space for real pursuit, real connection, and real commitment. Because when you stop doing what repels him, he finally has the room to come closer. Disappearing isn't about punishing him. It's not silent treatment. It's not about being cold, manipulative, or emotionally unavailable. In fact, the most powerful kind of disappearing doesn't look like drama. It looks like peace. Quiet, confident, grounded peace. That's how you disappear without confusion and without ruining your own emotional integrity in the process. So let's break this down clearly. Disappearing isn't vanishing overnight, blocking him or making a scene. That's not disappearing. That's reacting. And reacting always stems from pain. What you're doing instead is responding from self-respect. You're choosing to pull your energy back because you realize that continuing to give it to someone who's not showing up doesn't serve you. And you don't need a meltdown or a monologue to justify that choice. You don't have to say, I'm pulling away because you don't appreciate me. You don't need to send a long message about how you feel disrespected or unseen. The truth is, the more you explain yourself in that moment, the more it looks like a performance for attention, the real power move, quiet withdrawal. You simply stop doing what you were doing before. You stop initiating conversations. You stop reacting to breadcrumbs. You stop keeping the emotional pulse of the relationship alive when he's not participating. You become still. You lean back. You reclaim your time, your energy, your focus, and you place it fully on yourself, not as a strategy, but as a standard. The key to disappearing without confusion is consistency. You don't ghost. You don't come and go. You don't watch his stories and post cryptic quotes. You just let silence speak. And believe me, it speaks volumes. Especially when the energy shift is so clear that he feels your absence long before he processes what's changed. And if he does reach out during this time, you're polite but neutral. You don't dive into deep conversations. You don't ask where things are going. You respond with calm confidence, because the point of disappearing isn't to punish him, it's to protect your emotional space, to reset the dynamic, to give yourself a moment of clarity so you're no longer making decisions from confusion or fear of losing him. You disappear by no longer overextending, by no longer trying to prove your worth, by letting go of the need to fix, chase, or control how he feels. When you do that without a scene, without needing closure, you create a magnetic silence that invites him to either step up or fade out. And both outcomes serve you. No confusion, no chaos, just clear energy. Because when your presence is no longer automatic, it becomes rare. And what's rare is respected. Missing someone isn't logical. It's emotional. A man doesn't miss you just because you were good to him. He misses how you made him feel about himself when he was with you. So if you want to understand how to make him truly miss you, it starts with emotional triggers, the subtle cues that create a lasting imprint in his mind long after you've gone silent. One of the strongest emotional triggers is contrast. When your energy shifts, when you go from warm, engaging, and present to still, quiet, and unavailable, his brain immediately registers the change. He may not understand it consciously, but emotionally it hits. Why? Because you've taken away what he was getting used to. You've removed the emotional validation he subconsciously relied on. That contrast creates a gap, and the gap creates longing. Another powerful trigger, mystery. The less you explain yourself, the more space you give his imagination. When you don't overshare your feelings, when you don't announce every step of your disappearance, his mind starts to fill in the blanks. Is she seeing someone else? Did she move on? Was she really done all along? That curiosity becomes obsession. Because unanswered questions linger longer than anything you could ever say. Then there's the ego trigger. When a man is used to being the center of your attention, and suddenly you stop orbiting him, it shakes his sense of importance. Whether he was serious about you or not, your attention fed something in him. When that supply disappears, his ego feels the absence, and instead of brushing it off, he starts wondering what changed, and why you're no longer making him feel like the prize. Also, don't underestimate the emotional echo. This is the imprint you leave by being authentically present, emotionally in tune, and giving without attachment. If he ever felt seen, understood, or deeply connected with you, that memory stays, even if things ended in silence. Even if he acted like he didn't care. He may try to distract himself, but something small, a song, a place, even a scent, can trigger the emotional memory of you. And that's when missing you hits hardest. Not in the loud moments, but in the quiet ones. What makes all these triggers work is not trying to force them. You don't need to manipulate or fake anything. You just have to remove your energy from someone who stopped valuing it. That absence, combined with emotional contrast and mystery, does the work for you. Because in the end, people don't miss what's always available. They miss what they can't replace. And if you were real, present, and loving, but now you're calm, distant, and unbothered, he will feel that shift deep in his core. And when he does, that's when he starts missing you. Not just as a person, but as a presence. One of the biggest questions women ask after pulling away is, how long should I stay disappeared? And while there's no one-size-fits-all answer, there are powerful principles to guide you. Because timing matters just as much as the decision to disappear. Here's the truth. You stay disappeared as long as it takes for your emotional balance to return. This isn't about disappearing to get a reaction. It's about pulling back because you've been overextending, overgiving, or overinvesting in someone who's not matching your energy. So the question isn't, when will he miss me? It's, when will I feel grounded again, whether or not he comes back? The real purpose of disappearing is to interrupt a pattern that's draining you. And that pattern isn't always visible until you create distance. So you stay gone while you rebuild your emotional clarity, not just while you wait for a text. If you're still checking your phone every 5 minutes, you haven't really disappeared. You're still energetically entangled. The work begins when the silence no longer feels like punishment, but peace. From his side, space needs to be felt to be effective. A couple of hours won't do it. A day or two won't spark anything deep. If he's used to constant access to you, he won't start to notice the silence until around day 4 or 5. And for most men, it takes at least 7 to 14 days to begin feeling a real emotional shift, if there was any connection to begin with. But the deeper work is this. You don't put a timer on your healing. You don't count the days like you're waiting for a result. You commit to staying gone until you don't feel the urge to chase anymore. Until you no longer need a response to feel validated. That's when the silence starts to work for you. Not as a strategy to win him over, but as a mirror showing you what you were tolerating before. If he reaches out too early with low-effort contact, like a hey, or a reaction to your story, that doesn't mean you're done disappearing. Those are often ego checks, not real reconnections. Stay in your energy. Keep the distance. When and if he comes back with real effort, consistent energy, meaningful communication, and clarity of intent, that's when you decide if a reconnection is even worth your peace. But until then, stay disappeared. Stay committed to yourself. Whether that takes 1 week or 1 month, the time isn't wasted, it's invested. Every day you spend not chasing him is a day you get stronger, clearer, and closer to the version of you that doesn't settle for emotional scraps. Because the real answer to how long should I disappear is simple, as long as it takes for him to notice, and for you to stop needing him to. So you've disappeared, you've gone silent, you've focused on yourself, and now, he's back. Maybe it's a text, maybe it's a call, maybe he's suddenly liking every post you've made in the last month. Whatever it looks like, he's resurfacing. And now the question is, what do I say? What do I do? First, pause. Don't let excitement rush you into responding too quickly. Remember, this is the moment you've been preparing for, not to get him back, but to see clearly if he's even worth letting back in. Your value doesn't rise or fall based on his return. Your worth was never lost in the first place. When a man comes back after you've pulled away, his energy tells you everything. Is he coming back with clarity and effort, or is it just comfort and curiosity? Hey, how have you been? Is not a full return. That's a test, a breadcrumb. Your job is not to reward minimal effort with maximum access. If his message is vague or casual, respond with the same energy, polite but neutral. No need to be cold or rude, just calm, kind, and composed. You're not proving anything anymore. You're observing. Now, if he comes back with real intent, I've been thinking about us, I miss you, or I realize I messed up, then and only then is it time to engage more meaningfully. But even then, you don't jump back in emotionally. You ask real questions. What changed for you? What made you realize that? What are you looking for now? Let him show that this return isn't just a moment, it's a decision. This is also the moment you test his consistency. Anyone can send one message. Anyone can make one sweet gesture. But the chase only turns into commitment when there's follow-through. Don't be afraid to take your time. If he's serious, he won't rush you. He'll respect that you took space and want to earn your trust again. Most importantly, don't fall into the trap of filling the silence just because he broke it. Let him do the talking. Let him express. Let him lead. If you immediately go back to over-explaining, over-giving, or making things easy, you'll undo all the magnetic power you built while you were gone. The real win is this: you've shifted the dynamic. He's no longer in control of the narrative. You are. So when he comes back, don't see it as a reward. See it as a reassessment. Is this someone who can meet the version of you that no longer chases? Or is this just a familiar face, trying to re-enter a space he didn't value the first time? Your silence changed the game. Now your standards need to keep it that way. You don't have to ask where things are going. You are the destination now. If you take one thing away from this video, let it be this: your energy is your power. How you show up, how you give, how you pull back. These are not reactions to a man's behavior. They're reflections of your standards. When you truly begin to own your energy, you stop chasing, over-explaining, proving, or waiting. You start choosing. You don't have to scream, block, or beg for someone to value you. You simply withdraw your access, quietly, completely, confidently. Because when a woman stops pouring into someone who isn't pouring back, she instantly becomes unforgettable. Not because of the absence, but because of the shift in energy. That's what a man feels. That's what activates him. And if he's aligned with you, if he has real feelings, real intent, real emotional capacity, he will notice, he will feel the void you left, and he'll take action to fill it. Not out of guilt or ego, but from a place of realization. Because the truth is, men don't commit when you make it easy. They commit when they recognize what they could lose. But here's the deeper truth. This journey isn't about him. It's about you. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that were dimmed to keep something alive that was draining you. It's about remembering that silence is not weakness. It's strength. And that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. When you own your energy, you don't settle for half love. You don't tolerate breadcrumb communication. You don't wait around for someone to realize your worth. You embody that worth. You protect your peace, your time, your presence. And suddenly the game changes. Men feel that shift. They know when a woman is done negotiating with her standards, and whether he comes back or not becomes irrelevant. Because now you're leading with self-respect. And that is what creates commitment. Not begging, not chasing, not convincing, but standing in your value and allowing the right person to rise to meet it. So if he comes back, great. You'll know exactly how to move. And if he doesn't, even better. Because now you're free. Free to attract someone who doesn't need distance to realize your value. Someone who recognizes your worth in your presence, not in your absence. You've done the hard part. You've gone silent. You've pulled away. You've rebuilt. And now, you're no longer hoping he'll choose you. You're choosing yourself. And from that place, everything changes, including him. Because when you own your energy, you don't just make him want to commit. You make it clear that commitment is the only way to access you again. Your energy is sacred. Treat it that way. And watch what happens next.